Startling prophetic events are currently unfolding in Israel in 2023. These astonishing developments, informed only in the Bible, capture the world's attention. Israel stands as the epicenter of the end times prophecy. So watch closely to discern the season we're in as we approach the return of Jesus Christ, his second coming, and the church's rapture. So let's dive into this video today to uncover the truth. The first rapture sign in Israel was the reconstruction of the Third Temple. The Third Temple is a sacred place people want to build in Jerusalem. They believe it's more important than the old temples destroyed long ago. While it hasn't been built yet, it holds great significance in Judaism, especially for Orthodox Jews. They see it as the holiest place for their worship. Since 1987, a group called the Temple Movement has been preparing to construct the Third Temple. They are slowly working toward this goal in the 21st century. While many people in modern Israel and Jews worldwide aren't very religious, the Orthodox Jews are deeply committed. They consider it a spiritual duty and prefer that non-religious individuals not be involved. They have even reinstated the Sanhedrin, a religious authority overseeing temple matters, to ensure the temple is rebuilt correctly. For Orthodox Jews, rebuilding the temple is crucial because they believe it will improve the world. They think the world can only improve with the temple's reconstruction. Gershon Salomon, the leader of the Temple Mount Faithful, a group advocating for the temple's rebuilding, has organized protests, created a special cornerstone, and made items for the temple. Salomon believes that building the Third Temple is necessary to fulfill the Bible's promises for the people in the Holy Land. The Sanhedrin, responsible for temple matters, prepares for temple service by planting a special forest with necessary plants. Rabbi Hillel Weiss, their spokesperson, believes the temple connected the land and God. While we often associate sacrifices with animals and blood, most of the sacrifices in the temple used plants that grew in Israel. Besides that, a marriage took place in Temple Mount. One prophecy in Jeremiah chapter 33, verse 11 talks about a hopeful and joyful time, described as the voice of joy and the voice of gladness. It mentions the voices of the bridegroom and the bride, symbolizing happiness linked to a future Messiah and the Third Temple. Lately in Israel, more Jewish people visit the Temple Mount and engage in events there, thinking it's a sign of the Messiah's arrival. Recently, Eitan Krantman and Coral Daisy Dean got engaged on the Temple Mount. Eitan gave Coral an engagement ring on this holy site, witnessed by other Jews there. This act seems to be part of a growing trend, as more people are choosing the Temple Mount for special occasions. They informed the policeman accompanying them about their intentions, and he didn't object. After the proposal, several policemen blessed them. However, upon leaving the Temple Mount area, another policeman took down their information and suggested they consult a lawyer. In Jewish tradition, marriages have two stages: betrothal, kiddushin, and marriage, nisuin. Eitan and Coral performed the betrothal by giving a ring, following Jewish law but didn't do the marriage part. They hope their marriage will be like an everlasting establishment, just as they wish for an everlasting building on the Temple Mount. They also referred to a verse from Jeremiah chapter 33, verse 10 and 11 sung at weddings, highlighting the voice of joy and gladness, symbolizing future blessings. Coral emphasized that although the Temple Mount may seem desolate now, the prophecy is coming true with the voices of a bridegroom and bride being heard there. The Temple Mount has special significance for betrothals, as it once had gates for bridegrooms and mourners. Jewish tradition says these gates later became known as the Gate of Mercy or the Golden Gate. Tom Nisani from the Beyadenu Temple Mount Advocacy Group, who also got engaged on the Temple Mount, praised the young couple's connection to this sacred place. Many Jewish couples believe their actions on the Temple Mount fulfill ancient prophecies, like the ones in Jeremiah 33 and Zechariah chapter 8, verses 20 to 22, where people from different cities come to Jerusalem to pray to the Lord. These events are seen as awe-inspiring and wondrous by Jewish individuals. Besides this, with the reconstruction getting closer, an ancient temple beneath Temple Mount is found. In the past, people believed no temple was on the Temple Mount site. But in 1927, a big earthquake hit Jerusalem, damaging the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Muslim leaders allowed some digging and searching on the Temple Mount to fix it. They did this to restore the mosque. A man named Robert Hamilton, who was in charge of finding old things in Israel during the time when Israel was not yet a country, worked with Muslim leaders to explore the damaged area. But he had to be careful and not reveal things that might upset the Muslim community. Surprisingly, he found many things from times before Muslims were in charge, like the Second Temple and Byzantine times. But these findings were kept hidden for a long time, and now we are learning about them. About 80 years later, two Israeli archaeologists, Dr. Gabi Barkai and Zachi Dvira, decided to look again at what Hamilton found. They went through lots of dirt that was taken from the Temple Mount about 13 years ago. In that dirt, they found many small old things that tell us about the history of Jerusalem. They found a Jewish mikveh, a special pool for people to purify themselves before going to the temple. This mikveh was from the time of the Second Temple, and it shows that Jews used it for rituals. They also found small items from when the First and Second Temples stood. Hamilton's discoveries included parts of a mosaic from the time of the Byzantine Empire under the damaged mosque's floor. Dvira found stones from a mosaic, pieces of columns, and evidence that there was a church from the Byzantine era 324 to 638 CE on the Temple Mount. All these findings make us question what we thought before. It seems that the Temple Mount might not have been empty during the Byzantine times, and there might have been buildings there, maybe even churches. Now, next prophecy fulfilled is the arrival of red heifers. The appearance of 5 red heifers in Israel is stirring up global interest, especially among Christians who follow biblical prophecies. These heifers are important because they meet the requirements for sacrifice outlined in the Bible, particularly in Numbers 19. According to these rules, the heifers must be red without flaws. Many Christians believe that a third temple will be built in Jerusalem during the end times. The presence of these red heifers in Israel has led to discussions about whether this prophecy is coming true. The Book of Numbers provides detailed instructions for the red heifer. It should be a flawless, never-used-for-work red heifer that gets sacrificed and burned outside the camp. The ashes are mixed with pure water to purify people who have encountered dead bodies. This ritual involves sprinkling the water on the 3rd and 7th days of purification. Jewish tradition says these ashes are crucial for purifying people to serve in the temple. Only 9 red heifers have been used for this purpose over 1,000 years, and tradition holds that the Messiah will use the 10th. To meet these requirements, a project is using modern science to implant frozen embryos of red Angus cattle into Israeli domestic cattle. Different communities have various perspectives on these red heifers, but many see them as a significant step towards temple restoration in Jerusalem and the fulfillment of ancient prophecies. And recently, after finding the ancient temple and arrival of the red heifer, the ceremony of the Third Temple was held. On October 12th, an ancient water ceremony was reenacted at an old temple, drawing hundreds of participants. The ceremony began at Shahar Hashpat in Jerusalem's Old City, led by priests and musicians. The crowd joined the priests in a joyful procession along ancient paths to reach Shiloh, also known as Siloam Springs, which was used during the time of the temple. During the parade, participants chanted, danced, and silver trumpets sounded at each stop, with notable rabbis overseeing the event. At Shiloh, a golden jug collected water, and the procession returned to the mountain summit. They set up a model altar with utensils decorated with large leafy branches like in ancient temple traditions. The ceremony concluded with blessings and a special event called Hakhel, which happens every 7 years. Though not explicitly required by the Torah, the water libation is part of Moses' oral tradition and is a joyful holiday. The ceremony lasted 15 hours in the temple, with celebrations continuing all night until the temple service resumed. People worldwide came to participate in the Sukkot celebrations, making it an international day of worship. During the final 6 days of Sukkot, the water libation took place alongside the pouring of wine during the morning service. Priests filled a flask with spring water and journeyed from the temple to the Shiloh spring at the base of Mount Moriah. 2 priests then poured wine and water into designated holes on the stone altar in the temple's inner courtyard. What do you think of these rapture signs happening in Israel? Comment below and subscribe for more. Or